It was only after I won the auction that I realized no one had ever meant for me to find the listing. No official platform, no seller contact, no location details until after the bid cleared. But I was desperate, jobless, and obsessed with escape. And when the $1 starting bid popped up on my screen for a fully furnished, off-grid lakeside cabin in the middle of the Oregon wilderness, I clicked without thinking, as if something had already decided I belonged there. And when the confirmation came through at exactly 3:33 a.m. with a single line of text, "You are expected," I should have run, but I didn't. I drove 6 hours on broken roads through a forest so dense it blocked out the sky. No other cabins, no animals, not even insects, just miles of black pine and a silence so deep I could hear my own blood. The moment I passed through the rusted gate, unmarked except for a tree beside it, with 5 long gouges that looked like claw marks, bigger than any bear could make. My GPS died, my phone blacked out, and the car radio began playing what sounded like someone breathing into my ear. I nearly turned back, but when I pulled up and saw the cabin, old, crooked, yet somehow waiting, I felt something click into place, like I'd walked back into a memory I never lived. It was built from dark, damp timber with warped windows, a porch swing that moved without wind, and a lake just beyond it, so still and black it looked like glass. But when I stepped inside, it felt like I'd trespassed on a god's ribcage, the air dense with something thick, warm, and living. The furniture was covered in old sheets, but they twitched occasionally, like something underneath was breathing. The walls creaked in sync with my heartbeat, and even though I hadn't touched a light switch, the hallway glowed dimly with a red hue, like the kind used in submarines or slaughterhouses. In the study, I found a desk with a single item on it, an envelope yellowed and unsealed with my full name written in handwriting I hadn't seen since childhood, my father's, who had died in a fire when I was 7. Inside was a note: "It lives under the lake. It remembers you. It waits for your return." That's when the house shifted. Literally, the hallway behind me was gone, replaced with a narrow corridor of damp stone that sloped downward. And every mirror or reflective surface now showed not me, but some twisted, soaked version of myself, with blackened skin, hollow eyes, and something crawling just behind my shoulder. I tried to leave, but the front door had vanished, replaced with windowless timber that bled when I touched it. The lake outside was no longer still, it pulsed, it breathed. The surface shimmered with symbols that rearranged themselves every few seconds into phrases I couldn't read, but somehow understood. Feed the eye. You are many. Return to form. I started hearing things, my name whispered from beneath the floorboards, footsteps pacing the roof, and sometimes the smell of salt water thickened the air so badly I gagged. At night, the fireplace would ignite on its own, burning wood that looked like bone, and I could hear music playing from upstairs. Music that I realized was coming from the exact song my mother used to hum when I was a baby, a song I hadn't heard since she died. I hadn't told anyone about it, not ever, and still the house knew. On the second night, something knocked from underneath the cabin, 3 slow, deliberate knocks, each one louder than the last. And when I stepped outside to investigate, the lake was now red, not sunset reflection, blood red. I saw shapes moving beneath it. One of them waved. I found a trapdoor hidden beneath the rug in the kitchen, and beneath that, a tunnel, stone walls covered in carvings of people with no faces, offering pieces of themselves to a spiraled mouth in the sky. I followed it because I couldn't not follow it. The deeper I went, the more I remembered things that never happened. Rituals in the woods, standing in a circle, chanting, cutting, burying something that whispered from its grave end at the bottom. I found an altar made of teeth, surrounded by hundreds of bones, arranged in spirals, all pointed at a pit that led straight down into black water. I ran back up and locked myself in the bedroom, only to find it was no longer the same room. Its windows showed the ocean floor, deep and barren, and filled with thousands of staring, lidless eyes. Every surface reflected not the room, but me, sinking, rotting, smiling. I screamed for hours. On the third day, I found a journal under the mattress, bound in skin and titled "The Memory Below." Inside were hundreds of entries from people with different names, but the handwriting was always the same. The last entry read, "It lets you believe you're the first. You never were. You never will be. It does not forget." That night, I set fire to the walls. It laughed, not in sound, but in the movement of the shadows. It laughed with the way the flames bent away from the furniture and licked toward me. I passed out and awoke hours later, completely unharmed, the house untouched. But my fingernails were missing, my teeth felt looser, and I couldn't remember my own birthday. The longer I stayed, the more my memories were eaten first. Minor things, like my first pet's name, then my ex's face, then the funeral of my brother. And every time I forgot something, I saw it appear in the lake, floating up as a translucent shape, grinning. On the seventh night, the lake opened, not metaphorically. It literally opened like an eye, revealing a massive black pupil that pulsed with heat and memory. And from it rose something vast, covered in eyes and mouths and writhing tendrils made of screaming faces, my faces. It watched me. It sang to me in my own voice, and I felt it crawl down my spine. I was not the first. I would not be the last. It had called me here not to kill me, but to wear me, to send me back into the world as its vessel. I write this now in a moment of lucidity, one of the few I have left before the lake inside me swallows the last of who I am. If you find this message, if you see the auction, if the cabin ever appears online again, don't bid, don't click. Burn your device, cut your eyes out if you have to. Because if you see the cabin sees you, and it never forgets.